Luckily, this embarrassing non-spectacle didn't last long because a war broke out.
Yes, thank God for conflict, and the Russian-Georgian conflict in particular, which dominated headlines all week, much like a rhino might dominate a school photograph.
But while the pictures may have been simple, the background to the conflict wasn't, because everything to do with the Caucasus is incredibly complicated.
It's a region heaving with pipelines, place names that resemble countdown conundrums, and a bodge of geographical boundaries drawn up years ago by Stalin that don't reflect the competing ethnic interests underneath. In fact, sometimes even the locals get so confused they end up mistaking themselves for a hated neighbour.
Exacerbating things yet further, the war kicked off at the height of the silly season, when many journalists were either on holiday or stationed in Beijing.
So while their reporters headed for the action, the news channels were forced to rely on newswires and press releases for their information. Georgian Premier Mikhail Saakashvili, seen here looking a bit like a man playing Gordon Brown in a cheap TV movie, is a pro-Western, media-savvy and photogenic kind of guy with a knack for producing attention-grabbing soundbites that sit well at the top of a bulletin.
We are in the process of invasion, occupation and annihilation of an independent, democratic country.
Little wonder the news loved him. In fact, for a while he was on TV more often than John Barrowman. Anyway, here was a hero the news media could rely on, and a general picture quickly emerged of Russia the Big Bad Bear versus plucky little Georgia. Although things look very different if you watch the Kremlin-backed news network Russia Today, which did its level best to make Saakashvili look like either a cretin or a warmonger.
They also had a nice line in contrary experts like this wise-ass American blogger who's sceptical of the Americans' role in all this, even its supply of so-called humanitarian aid.
All aid is humanitarian, so-called. Who knows what's in those planes? I mean, I would check that out if I were you.
Actually, good though he is, he's not quite my favourite news expert of the week. Fanfare, please.
I only returned from South Ossetia last night.
F***ing hell, Ronald McDonald's let himself go.
And I have to say I was quite surprised by Mr. Saakashvili's comment for the CNN.
If you listen carefully, she is actually using words.
That, quote-unquote, leveled Sin Valley.
As hostilities wore on, things got even more dangerous and therefore televisual. Columns of tanks rolled across the screen as flak-jacketed action TV journos waded into the fray.
Actually, there's a fun little game a lot of these war correspondents play where they obviously run into position and start recording a piece to camera and try and time it just right so that the camera can pull out to reveal that, hey, look, our hero was standing in the thick of it all along. Now, the absolute master at this is ITN's Julian Mannion.
The Georgian government insists that its troops have not been humiliated.
Lovely reveal there.
Condoleezza Rice's swiftly arranged visit is intended as a strong demonstration of support for the embattled Georgian president.
Oh, fantastic. And 36 bonus points for the Secret Service guy nipping off for a piss. Anyway, the stiff upper lip of us Brits was in stark contrast to the running away pussiness of Fox News' Steve Harrigan.
We are going to get out of here right now because the bombing is coming closer.
Oh, Steve's scared of the war.
There's just a text message to journalists from the BBC that said, get out now. We don't know why. We're getting out now.
Oh, does Steve think he's going to get shot in what?
Georgian forces have begun to fire at journalists with pistols.
Actually, I think he's just running all the way home.
More firing, keep going.
Anyway, when he wasn't chickening out of a bullet in the lung like a f***ing coward, he was failing to help an old lady with her bags.
She says she doesn't know who's to blame. She doesn't know where to point the fingers. But she also doesn't know where she's going to sleep tonight.
Give her a hand then, you cunt.
To be fair to the war is scary, and the news clearly relished the jackass seat-of-the-pants nature of much of the footage. The Beeb, for instance, couldn't resist running a clip of some Turkish journalists coming under fire, not because it told you anything, but because it was, well, it was cool.
Keep your eye on the top left of the windscreen. The sunroof shatters.
Whoa! And there was loads of this action-packed stuff coming out of Georgia. Cool!
Ruins.
Awesome! Yeah!
Through the police cars.
Intense!
Apparently targeting bases nearby.
Newest dead.
Were just dragged into a nearby shop.
The news starts now.
Fox News loves war.
In fact, when it wasn't pimping the footage until it resembled a previously on segment at the start of an episode of CSI, it was telling viewers why they should care.
Here's why you should care.
Because people are being killed?
First, there's a major oil pipeline in that area.
Oh.
And second, it's just the latest in a series of tensions between Russia and the West.
Yes, tensions between Russia and the West quickly became the conflict's theme tune, with a chorus consisting largely of the words cold and war.
The words were very much from the Cold War era.
A language that took us right back to the darkest days of the Cold War.
Vocabulary straight from the Cold War.
Are we witnessing the start of a new Cold War?
Dunno, but with any luck, if you keep saying it, maybe we will.
Cold War is over.
Spoil sport.
When the dust settled, albeit temporarily, it became clear that while Moscow had won militarily, Georgia had won the PR war.
And I mean literally won the PR war.
According to Peter Wilby in The Guardian, the Georgian government issued almost hourly press releases to help state its case. Like Russia, Georgia employs a PR agency, which also, incidentally, represents Kellogg's in the EU, and I'm not making this up. Look, it made the cover of marketing prick magazine PR Week.
Yes, in today's modern hell, PR shapes the news more than you might think, but don't take my word for it. Ask Nick Davis, who wrote a book about it called Flat Earth News, which he'll tell you about now in a report, not his book, but the PR industry. Oh, just watch it.